It is the morning sports desk for Friday, the 16th of February. My name is CJ Baumgartner. Corey Tackman helping me co-host this thing on a Friday. And Corey, we're joined by Park Rapids Area Activities Director Jeremy Nordick. Hey, Jeremy, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be on.
Jeremy, let's dive right into it. We're in the heart now of section wrestling, and I know that's stuff we've been thinking about all week. There's lots of other updates that need to happen around our winter sports, but let's talk wrestling right out of the gate in the Park Rapids Area Panthers this season.
Yeah, last night we had our team section opening round, and we got beat by Alexandria. I know Alexandria is tough to begin with, and then we had a couple of kids that were sick and a couple of kids that are battling some, kind of minor injuries and stuff. So we went over to Perham last night and got beat by Alexandria. We were hoping for a little bit better showing there, but I think they beat us 43-18 was the final score. And we had some wins in there, which was great. But hopefully, next week we got obviously individual sections and we can kind of make that transition and get healthy here, get the sickness out of our systems and move on. One bright note, though, real quick, we have Brooke Kritzik, our Lone State entry. She got second in sections last week, so we're really proud of her.
Isn't it always kind of funny? I think I love winter sports and all the pomp and circumstance that come with it, but it always seems like these postseason play doesn't pick the sport. Lines up perfectly with the sickest time of year in the schools. It's just the unlucky, obviously everyone gets beat up at the end of all these seasons and injuries, but man, there's a lot of schools dealing with a lot of sickness right now too. It's really bad timing.
Oh yeah, you're not kidding. So last night for boys basketball, even we went to Aiken and their coach said, "Hey man, before you leave here, make sure you sanitize. Everybody's sanitizing their hands because our kids have been just sicker than dogs all week here." So he said it's just been a struggle. Like you don't know who's going to show up on game day. Even it's to that point to where the kids are so sick. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks here, you get to the section tournaments, everybody is feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, and you mentioned, in girls wrestling to be able to get a state participant. Just talk about the growth that you've seen in that sport. Obviously, just being only sanctioned now for a few years. How has that taken off just kind of even just in these 3 years, just seeing those numbers get bigger?
Oh, it's been just awesome. I mean, I can speak pretty much for Park Rapids only here. I know each school kind of has their own unique situation with it, but the last few years we've had 4 or 5 girls out for wrestling, and looking at our elementary, junior high, and coming on up, we're going to have more and more girls. So you can kind of talk about like Bemidji. Bemidji has pretty much their own separate team. And that would be a great goal if we could achieve that. If we could get up to our own separate team with girls wrestling, man, that'd be huge, especially with the success that we've had the last couple of years.
All right. Section playoffs for girls basketball right around the corner. Where's the Panthers girls basketball team at?
I think we could be anywhere between 7 and 10. And we got a couple of games left here. And obviously with that QRF system, you never know kind of where you're going to end up with the tiebreakers and everything else. But the teams above us, there's a couple of teams above us that we've lost to, and then there's another team that we beat. So it's just kind of, it's the shuffle right now. And wherever that QRF puts us, I guess, is where we're going to be at. Hopefully we can host a game. So if that puts us at the 7th seed, that would be great, or 8 even. That'd be fine, but it'd be nice to host. I know the girls have been improving throughout the year and working hard. Gave Crosby Ironton a pretty good game last night. Ended up, the score doesn't really show it. We lost by 20-something, but our girls were right there knocking on the door for most of the game. So I look for them to compete with anybody, come up in that section tournament.
I got to see him play earlier in the season at Staples Motley, and that is a team that can, when they get going from deep, they can fill it up in a hurry. And Gabby Shapersky is definitely one of those players. I know she reached a nice milestone this week.
Yeah, she did. She got 1,000 the other day, and man, that's just exciting. She was one of 3 kids this year that have reached that milestone. So it's just been fun around here as far as basketball is concerned, with those kids reaching those milestones. And it's putting extra people in the gym too. So we've had great crowds, and yeah, credit to Gabby, just a hardworking kid, and just a gym rat. She's in there shooting all the time, and always seems to have a basketball with her, and just loves the sport. And so yeah, especially her, if she can get it rolling from beyond the arc, yeah, we can beat anybody.
Switching things over into boys basketball, just talk about how that team has been going this year. I know that there's also another 1,000-point milestone to talk about.
Yeah, we had two of them actually, Noah Morris and Noah Larson. Noah Morris got his a couple weeks ago, or last week even, and then Larson got his the other day against Staples. So anytime you got two kids like that with achieving that milestone, it's just fun. And everybody talks about it, obviously, and when you're winning, when your team is winning, it just generates that much more excitement. So, which we've been able to do. Sitting at second in Section 8 AA right now, and a lot of that is because of the work that those two kids have put in, and the rest of the group has kind of followed along. And you talk about gym rats. Well, those two guys are definitely gym rats. They're weight room rats. I mean, they love sports. They love to compete. They love game nights, man. They just get after it. And we're going to definitely lean on them and ride their coattails a little bit coming into section tournament time.
At the top, towards the top of that Section 8 AA, and even seeing the team last year a little bit in that first playoff game against Wadena Deer Creek. I know last year obviously wasn't the spot that you guys wanted to be in, but there was still a lot of talent on that team, and watching that game and thought, given another season, these guys can make some noise. What's it like to see that development kind of year over year?
Well, we kind of knew that going into the summer months. We started in June, and we kind of made a summer plan as far as what tournaments we were going to go play at, and how we were going to kind of turn that corner going into into football season, because a lot of these kids they play football for me as well. So we kind of had a big plan, and it all just kind of ties into our big culture change that we've been working on as school-wide, basically. And these kids bought into it, and it's just nice to see. You talk about like 6 a.m. lifting, spending extra hours in the gym, all that stuff. These kids just bought in, and I think just the extras and all the stuff that some teams just aren't willing to do. Our kids have been willing to do those things, and it's definitely paid off for us.
You mentioned the culture change, Jeremy, and I think a lot of people, when they think about culture, they think about the locker rooms, right? They think about the players and the coaches, but you hinted at it a little earlier. It's not just there, because it starts there, and that's where things start to turn around. But then maybe you start racking up a few wins, and then people start showing up, like you mentioned, and it changes everything. All of a sudden, we've all been in those gyms where there's nobody there and there's nothing going on, and it's just kind of a sad night of pick the sport. It's a different world when you get to play in front of people, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you definitely nailed it there. And it just is. It's a different vibe in the gym. When you look across there and you're sitting on the bench and you see 1,000 people across there just going crazy, it's fun. And yeah, our kids, and we let our boys know, yeah, they come to see you. They come to see you compete, and come to see you play, and come to see you win. So if you're not giving your best effort, then there's something wrong with you. But our kids have just really just basked in that, and they love it. And again, we got some big games coming up here, and I look for some big crowds. If we can stay at that 2 seed, especially with boys basketball, then I think we're going to have a jam-packed Park Rapids gym coming up here. So it's just exciting stuff. Yep.
Can you give us the update and catch us up on Park Rapids area boys and girls hockey?
Yeah. So, girls hockey, we joined with DL, and we had one kid that went over there and played. She did well. This was our first year as a co-op over there. So we're kind of in that transition phase on trying to figure out what's best for us. And right now it's going okay. I'd like to get 4 or 5 more girls over there to participate, but DL, it's 40 minutes away. It's tough, and the transportation thing is tough, and then late nights. 3-4 nights a week. Getting home, I don't know if it's the best thing for us, but we're trying it, so we'll see what happens there.
Sure.
I know our girl had a pretty good experience here so far, and I think she's going to go back, but hopefully she brings a couple more with her. As far as boys hockey, we got the 7 seed, so we're going to play Kitson Central on Tuesday. And I know we could have ended up anywhere between the 4th and 7th seed, but sometimes you never know how those coaches vote. So we took the 7th, and which was probably where we should have been. But the winner of that gets the fun trip to go to Warroad. And they know their hockey up there, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But our kids are confident, and been playing some pretty good hockey here. I think what are we? We're 16 or 17 and 5-3. So that's a pretty solid record for this team. And you never know. I mean, high school sports, if we can get a win over Kitson, we'll go throw Warroad our best and see what happens.
Nice.
Catch us up on some of the other activities that have been happening during the winter season.
Oh, okay. Well, we got gymnastics sections coming up on Saturday. Really, really young team. We got a new coach, but they've been learning and growing and improving all year. It's just been fun to see. Kind of behind the scenes a little bit. Our gymnastics program has really been growing, especially in the younger ages. You get down into the elementaries and stuff. We got a good feeder program. So on top of that, we're looking at possibly getting a new gymnastics complex on our school grounds to go with our already building referendum. That's been going up really quickly thanks to the weather. So that should be done here a little bit sooner, we hope, which is nice. The construction's tough, obviously, to deal with parking and all that. But anyways, with gymnastics, no, it's been great, and hopefully they have a good showing on Saturday. Like I said, they're really young, so just any experience that they get right now is just a positive. And then it's pretty much the same thing with boys swimming. Todd Fritzy, I don't know if you guys have met with Todd before, but he's been around here a long time and a lot of success, a lot of state trips. And he took a couple of years off from boys swimming. He's been coaching girls swimming the whole time, but he took a couple of years off of boys swimming. Now he's taking it back, and they're kind of hitting the reset button a little bit, starting over, and really, really young, but again, growing, learning and competing and getting better and better each event. So I look for them to push some teams here down the stretch.
Finally, Jeremy, before we let you get out of here, just anything else happening around Park Rapids area that we need to know about?
It's just an exciting time to be a Panther. I love my job. I love coming to school. People are excited about different activities, obviously, but we just got a lot of things going on from one-act play. We got a runner-up in sections. I know our one-act play was a little disappointed. They were hoping to go to state this year, and they were close, and they're just talented kids, just being a jock, I guess, or a sporto guy. You don't really realize when you go see those events, the speech events or one-act play or the fine arts stuff, you don't realize just how talented some of these kids are. And I'm just really, really proud to be a part of that in Park Rapids and all the kids and the talent that we have. Esports too. I'm more of an old school guy. I mean, you dig out the old 1985 Nintendo and play Tecmo Ball, but some of these guys in the games they play on esports, it's unbelievable. And just the reflexes and the quick thinking that they got. You got to have a special talent for that. And I certainly don't have it, but some people do. And we got just a wide variety of kids and a lot of talent, and just a supporting staff here at Park Rapids, and our student council is just doing awesome things. We got a new primetime Panther mascot. I think I talked to you guys about that earlier. And, the football blow-up tunnel, little things that you don't really think about. But for us, just every little thing helps in turning that culture around. And I don't know, for years and years, I mean, even when I was at Menahga, you think of Park Rapids as almost a doormat. So you come over and that's going to be a win tonight, whatever sport we were talking about. Well, we're trying to change that mentality. So we're trying to earn that respect, obviously, from other people. But to do that, you got to put in the extra work. And we've been trying to do that. So that's where we're at right now, and hopefully that continues on. And just with our senior leadership and what we got, our young kids have kind of seen that and how they're supposed to learn and grow and act and how they're supposed to conduct themselves. So it's been an improvement, but obviously, I mean, it's baby steps, man. We're still growing.
We're talking with Park Rapids Area Activities Director Jeremy Nordick, joining us on the morning sports desk this morning. Jeremy, we appreciate the time. Love chatting with you as always, and we look forward to talking with you when spring rolls around.
Yeah, anytime, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy. Jeremy Nordick of Park Rapids Area, the Activities Director there, joining us on the morning sports desk. And Corey, I know we kind of do this after every AD we talk with, but what'd you think of the interview?
I am always impressed by every AD, Jeremy. I think specifically just because we just got done talking to him. I'm just always so impressed by, like, they have to have. It's not athletics director, right? It's an activities director. So they've got their fingers in all these different things, and they get to see a lot. And it's funny to hear them and cool to hear them talk about one act and the fine arts and those sorts of things. And it is a big task, to use his words, the doormat thing. There was when I first moved here, like it was when you would go into that gym in Park Rapids, and the other teams would always say, yeah, you know what, if we play okay here, we should be able to get away with one. And the Park Rapids coaches would say, yeah, we're going to have to do a lot of things right to try to steal one here tonight. And that's not been the case now, right? I mean, how you've heard him mention young coaches. I remember that coming up in the fall. He mentioned it again here this winter. There's just like some hope and excitement. It's like springtime at Park Rapids all season long for what the Panthers are trying to do in that extracurricular world, which I think it's really important. It's not everything, right? That not everything about school is about sports and about the football team and the basketball or whatever, but it is a lot. And a lot of kids are involved in a lot of different activities. And the more you can encourage participation in all of the activities, just the better atmosphere and more fun, the more fun of a place it's going to be each and every single day. It's cool. It's cool to hear him talk about that kind of stuff and that it's working.
Right. And that's the fun part, is you have a lot of people talk about all that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people really try their best, and they have good plans, and they have everything that they want to do. And to see it come to fruition is the fun part. To kind of talk to our conversation yesterday, to have two things that aren't really related, but I'm going to force them to be related. We talked about NCAA football, and the fun part about the video game is that you get to pick a random place and you get to try and build them up, and to see what the work that all those coaches and everything have done. And you get to hear the facilities being built and working on a new gymnastics spot. And it's really cool to see people kind of build things up and to rise up. And it's cool to see that happen, and happens with other schools around here. But for the specific part of talking about Park Rapids area, it's just really cool to get to see that and get to see kind of schools and programs go on that ascendancy. It's really, really fun. And honestly, it's the fun part about, everybody wants to be the GM in Madden of the worst team and build them up, because everybody likes to talk about it and see how they can do it on their own. But to see somebody in reality and to see a school and a program get behind and do that, it's really, really fun to see.
Yeah. Keep it up, Jeremy. It's cool.
So another thing that we'll talk about here on the morning sports desk today, let's recap a little bit of the games that we had last night on KWAD. It was a boy-girl doubleheader between Wadena Deer Creek and Menahga as we go south on Highway 71 here from Park Rapids area. But first off was the boys game, and Corey, this is the first time I've had to see the Wadena Deer Creek boys team in a couple weeks, and they came out and they did not miss a shot. They were shooting lights out in that first half. All of a sudden, Wadena Deer Creek put up 50-some points at halftime, 24 of them coming from Peyton Church, and they could not miss, whether it was Peyton Church, whether it was Teshi, whether it was Lyric Haug shooting from beyond the arc. Anything that they had going into that game was just working. There's just some nights where everything you do on a basketball court just works, and it was one of those nights. They dang near got 100 points. They ended up scoring 98, and overall, if you're Coach Thunberg, it's 10 out of 10, no notes. You did everything you wanted to do that night. For Menahga, obviously they're a program, and Coach Capan has been, they believe it's his second year now at the program, trying to build that up to where he wants it to be. And they played really well against Wadena Deer Creek that first time. And sometimes I feel like you just got to shrug your shoulders and go, wasn't our night. They scored 50 some points. At halftime, they had about 30. It's not that they couldn't score. It's just that Wadena Deer Creek was just doing whatever they wanted to on the offensive end of the floor. And sometimes you just got to shrug your shoulders and go, that's the way things kind of shake out sometimes. And overall, it was a fun night of basketball just from an offensive perspective. And, when any coach has a chance to almost get 100, that's a pretty good night.
Yeah, there's a funny thing that happens too. As let's take a peek behind the curtain here as a broadcaster. It's not like it was a close game,
right?
So there is to continue to keep a game like that interesting and fresh as it rolls along is sometimes difficult to do. But then all of a sudden you look up at the scoreboard and there's 6 minutes left, and you're like, they got 82. They got 87 or whatever it is. All of a sudden, it's kind of a fun. Whatever lull happens there from halftime to the 6 minute mark, 5 minute mark, completely dissipates, and all of a sudden everyone in the gym is once again back into it. Like, are they going to do it? That mystical triple digits up on the scoreboard, and it becomes something to chase after and kind of root for a little bit, which I think as like a broadcaster is kind of fun. You don't like to see blowout games. You don't want that for anybody. You don't want it for the team that gets blown out. It's tough. Those get to be dicey, and it's not fun. I totally understand that. But when that 100 is looming, it kind of you feel it. All of a sudden the fans start moaning and groaning for shots that oh man, it went completely around and popped out. How did that one not go in? You can feel it again in the gym. So it's they're fun nights from that perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And like you talked about, it kind of adds that extra juice. And if you're the players on the bench, you want that opportunity. Wadena Deer Creek only dresses 10 varsity players. So they had all 5 of their starters on the bench, but there's still a couple guys that play pretty frequent minutes that are on the floor. So it's not like it's JV versus JV, that those guys, again, it's a shot clock. You have to try and put something up. You're not just going to take a shot clock violation every single time down the floor. So, it was a very fun atmosphere towards the end. And I was talking even with Kyle, who, works for us and for the school. And he was saying, on both sides, everybody's kind of like, are they going to get to 100? Is that going to be something that happens tonight? And so it's like you said, it kind of it re-energizes you back into that ball game. Wadena Deer Creek plays Pelican Rapids tonight, one of the top seeds in Section 8 AA. Talking with Coach Thunberg just a little bit ago for Wolverines Weekly, which you can also hear at WadenaRadio.com and on the Superstation K106 app, he's like, I wish we could transfer some of that momentum and some of those points over already to tonight's game against Pelican Rapids. That's going to be a big one at the WDC gym. And we'll see how things kind of shake out for that end of the season. Because boys only have a few more weeks left. There's less than 5 games for both Menahga and Wadena Deer Creek on the boys basketball season, and even less, Corey, for the girls. So talking about the girls game yesterday, it was a defensive affair, really. Both teams, for Menahga and Wadena Deer Creek, more of a half-court defensive-minded team. Menahga likes to play that full court type of offense, press on every make, every time they're inbounding the ball kind of deal. But it was just a good defensive game. I think at halftime it was like, 28-15 or even something like that. It was not a big scoring affair, and it stayed that way in the second half. Both defenses did everything that they wanted to do. And the score ended up being about 46-30. And if you're Wadena Deer Creek, they average giving up 47 points a game. They got under their season average for points allowed. Thing is, for Menahga, they average allowing 37 points a game, and they only allowed 30. And it's just how it shakes out sometimes. And that Menahga team, it's tough because they get buried in a deep Section 8 AA. But Coach Pouliot and company have that program rocking still.
I mean, yeah, you hold teams to 30, you got a pretty decent shot, I would say. So, I think, we had a chance to talk a little bit before the game yesterday. And I mean, didn't that game kind of shake out exactly how probably most people predicted it to? It's going to be defensive. It's going to be a little bit of a slugfest. It might be ugly at times, but it's not because of ineptitude. It's because of how defensively stout both of these teams can be. And, like you said, both teams held each other to under 50 points. The other one held to under 40. That's pretty darn good. When I was in high school, we would have earned a Pepsi shot for that.
It was 26-17 at halftime too. So just overall in the second half, there was 20 points for Menahga, 13 for Wadena Deer Creek. So even in that second half, as things tightened up, it's still Menahga just did a great job again meeting Wadena Deer Creek out on that 3-point line, preventing their shooters from getting into any kind of rhythm. For Wadena Deer Creek, they just did a good job filling up that post and making things awful tough whenever Menahga wanted to get things down in the low block. And the big difference in this game was Corey, about halfway through the first half, it was 10-9 Menahga. It was back and forth. Wadena Deer Creek would have the lead. Menahga would have the lead. And then the Braves went on a 12-0 run, thanks to Mackenzie Anderson going 3 of 3 behind the 3-point line. And that kind of helped propel them on this run. And they basically, it would get bigger, it would get smaller, but it kind of always hovered around that 12-point mark. And it's tough as coaches because you play the game in its entirety. But if you're Coach Cressup and you're like, well, we take out that 12-minute stretch, this game looks, that 12-point run, I should say, by Menahga, this game looks a lot different.
Sometimes that's all it is. Most games end up being that way. They play 36 minutes of basketball, and if you can chop out 8 of it, chop out a quarter of basketball, an eighth of the basketball game, like this is a tie game if you remove that 12-0 run.
Right. So there you go. Menahga again, and Wadena Deer Creek both playing some competition here. Believe Wadena Deer Creek has some Park Region Conference competition coming up. Menahga going to play a lot of that Section 8 AA schedule. Menahga's won 23 games in a row, Corey. They have not lost since November 28th to Walker Hackensack Akeley. And that's going to be put on the line because they have Pelican Rapids coming up and they have Holly coming up as well. So 2 teams in the top half of Section 8 AA that are going to be important. Obviously, nobody's catching Perham in that section, but the 2 through 5 seeds are kind of all up in the air on who's going to get where and how that's going to shake out. So Section 8 AA girls basketball is going to be a lot of fun trying to see how that final seeding ends up shaking out. Speaking of 8 AA girls basketball and, just another 8 AA team, when we mentioned Perham earlier, I was reported yesterday by Nick L. Sports of the paper up in DL, the Detroit Lakes Tribune and the Perham Focus. He was there yesterday when 4 Perham Yellow Jackets signed their national letters of intent, and I have those names right here. So Jaden Hackle for track and field is going to go to UW Lacrosse. Maya Lung is a cross-country runner and also track and field. She is going to, Mia, excuse me. She's going to run for Luther College. Braylon Rock is going to play football at UMary in Bismarck. And Aspen Rohde is going to run cross-country and track and field for MSU Mankato. It's always just such a cool event when kids get to sign their letters of intent. And before, it was always kind of reserved for like the D1 signings. I'm a top 30 recruit in the nation. We're going to have this big affair. And I love that these kids, even if they're going to D3 or JUCO, obviously the scale is a little bit different, but I still love that the school makes a point to take a picture with you and have the little school logo in the background. And they don't make a huge deal out of it, but it is important. And it shows a dedication and a love of sport and something that you wouldn't get if you were at, the schools are kind of, it's showing off for the player, but it's also the schools showing off too. Like, look at what we're doing for our kids. We're helping put them in a position to go do this. And the kids worked hard and they got to this point. And, you're not throwing a parade for them, but you're rewarding them for some hard work.
Do you know how good you have to be to play college sports?
Good. You got to be good.
You have to be good at them. College sports, not division. I'm not talking Division I. That is 1% of less than 1% of all athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Much greater percentage of like you have to be You have to be good. You have to be good. One of the things, my brother was a runner at Luther also. One of the things that's cool about the lower levels of collegiate athletics anyway is that it is they love the sport. Like in high school, you can go out for the sport because you love the sport, and it remains that way at the Division III level, which is really, really cool. It's obviously competitive. It's obviously the next level, so everything's a little faster. The best are a little bigger and a little stronger and a little faster. All that stuff is still true, but there's still that level of like, if you want to run, go do it. Now, it turns out runners at Perham not bad at running. So it's really awesome to be able to see that. You have to be good to play college sports. You just have to be. There's no anybody who's less than good doesn't pursue it. So it's cool. Congratulations to them.
Well, and people talk about like, oh, it's just Division II. Like I've seen Division II basketball. I watched Bemidji State when I took stats for the basketball team for men's and women's. And those two programs weren't necessarily bastions of the NSIC. They weren't darlings. They were, bad to average. And those guys were good. Like I got to see them every single weekend. Those guys and girls were good. Like they could do some things with the basketball that not a lot of people can. And they don't do it like they do it for the love of the game. They don't do it. They don't get big NIL deals. They don't get a chance to go pro. A lot of them are going to be teachers or going to be accountants or going to be whatever when they're done playing. They're spending their entire college lives doing that, playing the sport and going to class. That's all they're doing for 4 years, for every weekend to travel 500 miles on a charter bus, stay at a Best Western, and eat Domino's pizza on the bus. They are doing that because they love the sport, and that's really cool to see. And, I hear some kids, they talk about their college thing and like, yeah, well, this team isn't going to be very good, and I don't know if I'd want to go there. And I look at them and say, who cares? Because nobody's winning national titles. You have to be really, really good, even as a Division III player, to be on a national title winning team. You're doing it because you just want to keep playing the sport at a high level. And those kids realize that. And it's really fun to get to see them do that and do their dream. I would have loved to play college baseball for somebody. I wasn't good enough. So to see other kids go do that is awesome. And I hope everybody gets the opportunity to do that as much as possible.
If somebody says it's just Division II or it's just Division III or it's just fill in the blank for the level, they're idiots. It's the stupidest take. It is. This word gets overused, but it's just ignorant. You have no idea. Just about every single person you and I know, if we went to open gym and got to play one-on-one with the seventh man of any Division III basketball program, and they game to 11 by ones and twos, we'd lose 11-0
pretty quickly.
Everyone you know and everyone I know, including you and me, they would cook us coming off the bench at a Division III program. You have to be so good to play college sports.
So good.
Anyway, Braylon Rock's mom cleans my teeth. So way to go, Braylon. That's awesome.
So let's wrap this thing up by talking about a little of our coverage tonight. And we'll probably wrap this up. It's fun to have the morning sports desk be all local. I'd love it if obviously we're talking with Jeremy and that takes up a big chunk of the show today, which is awesome. He was great. I love it when we do these shows that are just all local. Let's wrap this up by talking about Section 6A team wrestling tonight. Corey, that's on our airwaves and online on our website.
Indeed it is. We have Section 6A team wrestling. Now, New York Mills and Ottertail Central wrestled on Tuesday. New York Mills came away victorious in that. So just very quickly, I want to see if I have my updated seedings here. There are it's the entirety of the team wrestling coverage out of Section 6A. The quarterfinals are going to begin at 3:30. They'll continue at 5. The semifinals are scheduled for 6 o'clock, and the finals are scheduled tonight for 8 o'clock. Your 1 seed is Osakis. 2 is Bertha Hewitt, Verndale, Parkers Prairie. The 3 seed is West Central area. 4 seed is Long Prairie, Grey Eagle, Browerville. The 5 seed Border West. 6 seed Wadena, Deer Creek. 7 seed Pelican Rapids. And then the 8 seed is New York Mills. So those quarterfinals will be Osakis versus Mills. Bertha Hewitt, Verndale, Parkers Prairie versus Pelican Rapids. West Central area versus Wadena, Deer Creek. And Long Prairie, Grey Eagle, Browerville versus Border West. Those are your quarterfinals. Kyle and Dan will begin their coverage this afternoon at 3:15. The wrestling with the quarterfinals starts at 3:30. And it's full steam ahead through the evening on KWAD. That's 101.7 FM and AM 920. KWAD online at wadenaradio.com/KWAD. And you'll see the little button that says stream local sports. It'll take you right there. It's going to be a fun night of wrestling.
Fun night of wrestling. We already posted our broadcast schedule on the Facebook pages, and already people have been liking it. Wrestlers, turns out, are into wrestling. They love it, and it's great that we can have it back on the air.
You can't be halfway into wrestling.
No.
You can be halfway into basketball. Like, you know what? I'm just going to go hang out with my friends. I don't care if I ever play. And when I get in, I'm just going to shoot the ball. It's going to be awesome. You can't be halfway into wrestling. It hurts.
Exactly.
It hurts if you're into wrestling. If you're halfway into wrestling, you're going to learn the difference between being hurt and being injured very quickly.
One last couple notes on our state sports. The Timberwolves won yesterday. They are 39-16, best record in the West by a game and a half. They go into the All-Star break. Chris Finch, Karl Anthony Towns, and Anthony Edwards are all going to be there. They once again took care of Portland yesterday, just nonstop. They're locked in. I think one stat doesn't need much elaboration, but one stat in the last 10 games, the Wolves are the number 1 team in net efficiency defensive rating, number 5 in offensive rating. If they can keep that up all season long, there's not any team that's better than them. Like they'll
win the championship.
Right. Exactly. It's weird to say, but they are in such a good spot. It's awesome. Twins pitchers and catchers have reported. Carlos Correa showed up to camp yesterday, so most of the position players are kind of slowly starting to trickle their way in. Major League Baseball logos and team uniforms have been really interesting this year. They all look like paper. That's maybe a discussion for a later time. They look awful, those uniforms. And the Wild are doing the Wild things. The Gophers lost to Purdue yesterday. There's your fill up on your state sports. Corey, I think we're going to break for the weekend. This has been the morning sports desk for